The hotel room door shook as heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. Ibrahim Traoré, Prime Minister of Burkina Faso, stood by the window, his back straight, eyes scanning the streets below. The shadow of a conspiracy had followed him for days, but tonight the secret police had surrounded his only escape. In his hand a letter trembled with weight. Its contents, too dangerous to speak aloud, could change everything. Introduction. And setup, it was a warm, humid evening in Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso. The streets hummed with the sound of distant traffic, and the faint scent of earth and rain lingered in the air. Inside a luxury hotel nestled in the heart of the city, Ibrahim stood alone in his suite. The polished floors reflected his tense silhouette, framed by the city lights streaming through the window. Outside, the world was oblivious to the storm that had been brewing for months. For most, Ibrahim Traoré was a symbol of strength, a leader who had risen from humble beginnings to take charge of a country on the edge of a new era. His leadership was more than just political, it was personal. But tonight, he was a man under siege, not by a military force, but by those closest to him. The very people who had once vowed to protect him had now turned their backs, their eyes. Filled with suspicion, the letter in his hands was a lifeline. A message from an old ally, a whisper of truth hidden beneath layers of deception. It told a story of betrayal, of international manipulation, of forces conspiring against his country. And it was the only hope he had left. Conflict or challenge. Introduced, the door to his suite slammed open, and two men in plain clothes entered, their eyes scanning the room, searching for any sign of resistance. The silent tension between them was palpable. Ibrahim knew who they were, the secret police. Their presence was no coincidence. He had been warned earlier that morning by his most trusted advisor, but he hadn't been able to leave. Not yet. One of the officers, a man with a hardened face and cold eyes, approached him slowly. "Ibrahim Traoré," he began, his voice low but firm, "the time has come to answer for your actions." His words carried an ominous weight, one that suggested the consequences of any resistance would be severe. But Ibrahim didn't flinch. His grip tightened around the letter. "I have nothing to answer for," Ibrahim replied, his voice steady but filled with the quiet fury of a man who knew the truth. "You're here to silence me, but you won't." As the officers advanced, Ibrahim's mind raced. He had planned for this moment, prepared for the inevitable confrontation. But nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. Midpoint revelation or twist. Without warning. The lights flickered, and a loud bang echoed from the hallway. For a brief moment, everything stopped. The officers looked at each other, confused. Ibrahim's heart pounded in his chest as he realized that this was no longer just a trap, it was an ambush. Suddenly, the door crashed open, and a figure appeared, standing in the threshold. It was a woman, draped in a long, dark cloak, her face obscured by shadows. She stepped into the room with the grace of someone who belonged to this world of shadows and secrets. The officers froze, unsure of how to react. "Ibrahim Traoré," she spoke, her voice soft but commanding. "They've made a mistake." Before anyone could react, she handed Ibrahim a second letter. This one was different. No government seal. No official stamp. Just a plain envelope. He opened it, his eyes scanning the contents quickly. What he read left him speechless. The woman wasn't just an ally. She was someone far more important, someone he had never expected to cross paths with. She had been watching over him for years, a part of an underground network that had worked to keep him alive. Her presence here at this moment meant that the conspiracy against him was far larger than anyone had imagined. Climax emotional breakthrough. As Ibrahim stood there, the weight of the revelations crashing down on him, a door opened behind him. The secret police had been led into a trap, and the woman was no longer his only ally. From the shadows of the room, figures emerged, men and women with determined faces, their eyes set on the officers. They were here to protect him, to make sure the truth would never be silenced. The tension reached its peak, the sound of distant sirens growing louder until Ibrahim stepped forward. Enough, he said, his voice shaking with a combination of fear and defiance. We will not be silenced. By force, not now, not ever. In that moment, Ibrahim understood the depth of his own strength, not the power granted to him by office, but the resilience built in the crucible of betrayal. He had fought to get to this point, and now, surrounded by enemies and allies alike, he would fight again, not just for himself, but for his people, for justice, for freedom. The secret police, caught between their duty and their humanity, hesitated. They had come to take a leader, but they were about to witness the birth of something greater. The world watched, but no one could predict the outcome: resolution and quiet closure. As dawn broke over Ouagadougou, the city seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. The streetlights flickered one last time before going out. Inside the hotel, Ibrahim sat quietly, the letter from his ally still in his hand. The woman had left, vanishing back into the shadows from which she had come. The secret police had been detained, their plans thwarted. But the damage had already been done. Ibrahim understood no. This was just the beginning. His battle was far from over. But as he stood by the window, watching the first light of day pour over the city, he felt something shift deep inside him. The weight of the world had not broken him. Instead, it had forged him into something stronger. He wasn't just a man anymore. It was a symbol of resilience, of defiance, of hope, and, perhaps most importantly, a symbol of the truth that would never again be hidden in the shadows. Call to action. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more inspiring tales of hope, healing, and unexpected kindness. The like button and share this with someone who needs it today.